"You're not coming to the wedding," Mom texted. "Lily's family doesn't want you there." That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just cold, detached words in a gray text bubble. I stared at the message, reading it once, then again. My thumb hovered over the screen while the coffee beside me grew cold. So, they chose image over blood. I typed those words back. No emoji. No sarcasm. Just a simple truth. Then, without hesitation, I opened my laptop, logged into the wedding planning account, and canceled the venue deposit. It was under my name. Paid with my card. They didn't even know that. The best part? It was non-refundable. I shut the laptop and leaned back in my chair, eyes locked on the wall. I didn't feel anger. Not yet. Not even sadness. Just a stillness, like something inside me had shifted and was now watching everything from a colder, quieter place. This wasn't the first time. They'd done it before. Never this blatant, never in all caps. But I felt it in the quiet digs at dinner, the birthday they forgot 3 years in a row, blaming the group chat for hiding the reminder. I saw it in the way Lily became their golden child while I was just Jack. Useful. Quiet. Always there. I found the dress boutique. I negotiated the first catering deal. I booked the Airbnb for out-of-town guests after Zach's parents rejected the Colorado Lodge. I even designed their Save the Date website. Using my own Canva account. I still had access. But suddenly, I was the problem. An inconvenience. Lily's father didn't like my energy. I wore black to brunch. I questioned where $3,000 in catering deposits went and didn't drop it when Mom brushed me off with a, "Just trust us." They needed me, until they didn't. Now they were painting their perfect picture. Curated smiles. Filtered happiness. A wedding without me. Just the important people. I took a deep breath, opened the shared wedding planning folder. Photos, contracts, vendor timelines. And deleted every file I'd uploaded. 63 in total. Then, I renamed the folder. Good luck without me. No warning. No message. Let them discover it when the florist doesn't confirm. When the photographer doesn't show. When the venue emails, "Unfortunately, this reservation has been canceled by the account holder." They expected me to stay quiet, to swallow the insult like always. But this wasn't just about a wedding. This was the final crack in something that had been rotting for years. They handed me the scissors and expected me not to cut the thread. They wanted me gone. Wish granted. They just didn't expect I'd take everything I gave with me. And I was only getting started. If you ask them, I've always been the dramatic one. The overthinker. The sensitive one who read into things too much. So let me take you back. 6 months ago, Friday night. Lily called, crying. Zach had been laid off. Their downtown apartment was 3 months behind on rent. The landlord wanted everything by Monday or he'd file for eviction. I didn't hesitate. I transferred $3,800 from my savings and told her to call me if she needed more. That was the 3rd time that year I bailed them out. The first was when Dad mismanaged his retirement account and needed $500 to avoid penalties. The second, when Mom forgot the bachelorette Airbnb was on my credit card. The place got trashed. I kept receipts, spreadsheets, screenshots, not because I planned to use them, but to prove to myself I wasn't imagining it. The money, the time, the quiet sacrifices. I gave. Constantly. And all I got back was silence. Or worse, mockery. Dad once joked while I cleaned his gutters in a thunderstorm that I'd make a good house husband, since I clearly wasn't man enough to earn real money. They all laughed. Even Lily. When I brought it up later, Mom said I was being too sensitive. He's just old school. Old school. This man once locked me out of the house in high school for wearing eyeliner. Maybe I was too sensitive. When Lily got engaged, she told me over FaceTime. Mom and Dad were literally sitting behind her on the couch, cheering. They helped plan the proposal. Went ring shopping with Zach. Me. I found out through a screen. Still, I paid for their $600 engagement shoot. Built their wedding website. Designed custom invitations. Paid the venue deposit when Mom's card wasn't working. Brick by brick, I built their dream, while they tossed me scraps and called me a good sport. Then the messages started. Aunt Megan, hey, I heard you're not invited to the ceremony. Is that true? Uncle Jeff, did you say something to Zach's dad? Just curious. And finally, the photo. A Facebook post. Lily, Zach, Mom, and Dad, smiling in front of a rustic barn strung with fairy lights. Caption, so proud of our family. Can't wait for the big day with all the right people by our side. The right people. I wasn't even tagged. In the comments, one of Lily's friends asked, is Jack going to be there? He was always so funny. Lily replied, we're keeping things small. Just people we trust. That night, I didn't sleep. I went back through every receipt, every message, every time I was called selfish for asking to be paid back. And I realized something. I was the only one who gave without strings. And the only one they cut loose. A week later, a group text. Hi, family. Can everyone chip in for Lily's bridal shower decorations? Jack, since you're so good with websites, can you make an RSVP landing page? Hugs and kisses. I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, Lily messaged directly, can you just do this one thing without being passive-aggressive? So I did something else. I logged into the venue account and filed a wedding insurance claim under Family Conflict. A tiny checkbox no one paid attention to when I added the policy. They refunded 90%. Then, I logged into Canva and deleted every RSVP, every table chart, every welcome sign. I made one last design, a plain image with the text, ask Zach's dad to fix this. And I shared it with the entire family. That's when it all blew up. 3 hours later, Mom called in hysterics. What are you doing? Do you know how this looks? I do, I said. That's why I'm doing it. Then Dad called. Straight to yelling. You've always been jealous of Lily. You couldn't stand her having a better life. I held the phone away from my ear. And hung up. My phone blew up. Lily had posted a cryptic Instagram story. Betrayal always comes from those closest to you. Then Mom uploaded a photo of Lily crying, captioned, nothing hurts more than your own brother trying to ruin your special day. Messages started pouring in. Friends, cousins. A few asked if I was okay. Most didn't. Instead, they demanded, why would you ruin her wedding? I didn't reply to any of them. Then, the envelope arrived. No return address. Just a plain yellow envelope. Inside was a printed screenshot of Lily's bridesmaids group chat. There she was, laughing. We'll get Jack to pay for the cake too. Just guilt him about being the only brother. It always works. Another message read, Zach doesn't even like him. He said Jack gives him the creeps. And then the last. He won't be at the wedding. I'll make sure of it. Watch. A sticky note sat on top, handwritten in a familiar scrawl, you deserve better. K. I didn't know who K was. But I'd find out. And when I did, everything changed. Because K didn't just have screenshots. K had audio. And the moment I heard it, I knew exactly what I had to do. Lily's rehearsal dinner was held at a pretentious vineyard 30 minutes outside the city. They called it rustic luxury. I called it an overpriced marketing stunt with fairy lights stapled to trees and wine that tasted like regret. I arrived clean, composed, focused. I wasn't there to eat. I was there to end the performance. I walked in just as they toasted Lily. She was mid-laugh, Zach's arm draped around her. Dad looked uneasy. Mom wouldn't meet my eyes. They hadn't expected me. That much was clear. In their story, I was the villain. The bitter brother who couldn't let go. But I wasn't bitter. I was done. I walked to the front of the room. Tapped my glass. Sorry to interrupt, I said. The room fell silent. Someone laughed awkwardly. Lily frowned. I pulled a small speaker from my jacket, placed it on the table, then held up a flash drive. Zach stood. What are you doing? I looked him dead in the eye. Giving you what you deserve. I hit play. Lily's voice rang out, laughing. We'll get Jack to pay for the cake too. Just guilt him. It always works. Gasped. Someone dropped a fork. No one moved. Another voice. Zach doesn't even like him. Said Jack gives him the creeps. Zach turned pale. Lily rushed for the speaker. I stepped in front of it. Sit down. It wasn't a suggestion. Then the final clip, Lily's voice again, calm and smug. He won't be at the wedding. I'll make sure of it. Watch. I paused the recording. Any questions? Zach opened his mouth, then closed it again. My father stood. You think this is appropriate? Sit down, I snapped. And for the first time in my life, he did. I turned to Lily. I spent over $11,000 on this wedding. I built your website, negotiated your venue, paid your florist, because I thought, foolishly, that this was family. Her mascara streaked down one cheek. You don't understand. No, I said. You don't. You never did. You didn't want a brother. You wanted a bank account. I pulled out a folder. Hard copies of everything. Screenshots. Texts from Mom and Dad. PayPal receipts. Invoices I paid. Records from the group chat where Lily called me the family's free wedding planner. I handed it all to Zach. Still want to marry her? I asked. He stared at the pages. Silent. Then a woman stood up in the back. Gray coat, ID badge, phone in hand. Hi everyone, she said. Sorry to interrupt. I'm Kristen. I used to work with Jack. I also run a digital forensics agency. Jack asked me to verify some files. She looked at Lily. These aren't deepfakes. This audio is 100% authentic. No edits, no splices. Pulled from a WhatsApp backup linked to your old number. And yes, I have the metadata. Lily's jaw dropped. Mom gasped. Dad barked. Is this a joke? Kristen smiled. Not even a little. Then came the final blow. Zach turned to Lily. You told me Jack threatened you. Said awful things. That he was unstable. He held up the documents. You lied. She reached for him. No, Zach, Don't touch me. And the room exploded. My aunt started shouting. A glass shattered. Mom tried to speak and choked. I just stood there, watching the circus collapse. When the chaos reached its peak, I raised my voice one last time. I'm not coming to the wedding. You already made that decision. But now you can do it without my money, without my help, and without my silence. I turned to my parents. You cut me off the moment I stopped being your puppet. So I'm cutting the strings too. And as I turned to leave, Zach spoke up. I'm calling it off, he said. Loud. Clear. Lily screamed. A high-pitched wail that sliced through the air. You can't do this here. Oh, I said. He just did. Then I walked out. No dramatic music. No slow-motion exit. Just the sound of their carefully constructed fantasy falling apart. I didn't drive home after that. Didn't even get on the highway. I took a quiet side road north. A month earlier, I had signed a lease on a tiny cottage in a forgotten town. Population 600. One diner. One gas station. Nobody knew me. And that was the point. I paid 6 months up front. No forwarding address. No digital trail. Just peace. For the first 3 days, I didn't turn on my phone. Didn't check email. Didn't speak a word. I just sat on the porch with black coffee and listened to the birds fight over land they'd never actually own. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. No tension. No guilt. No one asking for money. No one pretending to care long enough to get a transfer. On the 4th day, I walked into town and signed up for something I'd always been too ashamed to chase. A course in archival preservation at the local college. History. Dusty newspapers. Forgotten letters. For once, I was surrounded by things that kept honest records. And that was enough. There was no performance here. No manipulation. No you owe us. I volunteered at the county museum. Catalogued old photographs from the 1950s, restored a dusty microfilm machine. And for the first time, I didn't care that no one noticed. Because it was mine. Quietly, completely mine. About a week later, the messages started showing up. Old Gmail account linked to my emergency phone. I didn't read the first few. The subject lines told me everything I needed to know. Can we talk? You went too far. We're still family. Then came the blocked calls. Dozens. I left the phone off. They weren't trying to make peace. They were trying to reset the game. What scared them wasn't the evidence. It was the silence. They couldn't handle not knowing what I'd do next. Because for the first time, they weren't in control. 3 weeks later, a court notice was forwarded to my old apartment. Apparently, my father had tried to sell a piece of family property. What he didn't know was that I'd secured the deed 2 years earlier, after he nearly remortgaged it without my consent. I left it in legal limbo, waiting, and he triggered the clause himself. The sale fell through. The buyer walked, and he got hit with a fraud investigation. Not because I caused it. Because I didn't stop it. I didn't write a blog post. Didn't blast screenshots in a group chat. Didn't make a dramatic public statement. I just disappeared. No birthday calls. No last-minute bailouts. No, maybe next time. And that was what truly broke them. Because narcissists don't fear consequences. They fear irrelevance. They fear a stage with no audience. One morning, I stopped by the post office, not for letters, just a small package I'd ordered. Behind me in line, someone was talking on the phone. I heard Lily's fiancé walked out right before the wedding. Then apparently her brother vanished. Took all his money with him. I didn't turn around. I never made a statement. Never corrected the record. I simply became unreachable. No address, no number, no access. They mistook silence for weakness. They didn't understand. It was a choice. A quiet, surgical goodbye. Not with words, but with absence. The kind of absence that can't be manipulated. That forces people to sit with the weight of their actions. They can't guilt me anymore. Can't call when rent's due or a credit card maxes out. Can't pretend we're fine when they need another favor. Because there is no more we. There's only them, and a mailbox that says, "No message received." You know what's funny? When you finally walk away from people who built their lives on top of you, they don't crumble right away. They just freeze. Stunned. Like someone hit mute, and they can't find the volume button. That's what happened. After the rehearsal dinner. After the silence. After the unanswered calls. They still believed, deep down, that I'd return. Because I always did. But this time, I didn't. I changed my number. Not just a SIM swap, a new carrier, a new country code. No forwarding. No auto-replies. Just nothing. I closed the joint account Dad had tied to me for emergencies. Redirected my bank info to a private vault. Updated my medical POA. Removed every family name. I even changed the emergency contact on my driver's license from Mom to No One. They don't know where I live, where I work, if I'm still in the state, the country, or even above ground. And that haunts them. A month ago, I went back. Just once. Not to the house. Not to the vineyard. I drove past the wedding venue. The one I had canceled. It was empty. Abandoned. A faded "For Sale" sign hung crooked on the gate. A wilted bouquet lay crushed in the gravel. It felt right. I rolled down the window. The breeze carried the scent of rain and regret. Before I left, I did one last thing. I walked to the mailbox near the entrance. Slipped in a small, plain envelope. No return address. Inside, the final invoice I paid for the wedding. On top, a post-it note. Thanks for nothing. I've stopped checking that old inbox. But sometimes, I log in, just to watch the flood. One unread message was titled, "Please, just talk to us." I didn't open it. Another read, "We don't know who you are anymore." That one made me smile. Because for once, they were right. I'm not the person who wired money at 3 a.m. Not the emergency contact. Not the free wedding planner. Not the guilt-ridden son. Not the invisible sibling. I'm just a man with a different life now. One they can't reach, poison, or rewrite. Last week, I got a new mailbox. Metal. Clean. Lockable. One of those secure Dropbox that doesn't let anything back out once it's in. The technician asked me what name I wanted engraved on the nameplate. I said, no name. Just a message. So now, etched into a little brass rectangle beneath the keyhole, it reads, "This box does not accept apologies." And the silence I hear every day now? It's peace.